In fishing, tactical trends continue to evolve with each passing season. Standard lures and tactics give way to new lures, and we tinker here and there to develop new tactical approaches that fish haven't seen. Nowhere is this more evident than in fishing for smallmouth bass, one of the most perceptive and highly selective fish swimming in fresh water.
Oh, beautiful, man. I just love this. A little experimental fishing, because for the last couple years we've been fishing the Clackin' Rap, the newly introduced Clackin' Rap a couple years ago, and the original Rattling Rap in the same kind of situation where you're making a long cast, let it go to the bottom, you rip it up, you let it fall, you rip it up, you let it fall, almost like fishing a spoon back to the boat, which we've also done this past season with great success. But now we've got the new Rippin Rap, and it has a totally new sound to it and a totally new vibration, which is absolutely important in the scheme of things. And most important, though, I think, is that it falls a little bit different. And I shouldn't say most important, but important is that it falls a little bit different. Well, and I had just changed to a different color, but I don't think that's the key either. Down you go. There's the the Rippin Rap. And nice thin profile, classic lipless style bait, very nicely balanced, but very thin body to it. It has that bee-like sound to it, and again, it swims a little bit differently on the fall, and most importantly probably is that it has a different vibration. So I think this one may very well be the best of the bunch when it comes to doing what we're doing, which is making long casts, searching for fish, and triggering them by ripping the bait up and letting it fall, ripping it up and letting it fall. Never let them quite get a handle on what the thing is. Hits the bottom, give it a rip. Hits the bottom, give it a rip. Hits the bottom, give it a rip. You get a rhythm going so that you really don't even have to know that it hits the bottom. It's just the distance of the cast and everything else that goes with it. And then you can start experimenting with retrieves. On that one, I had actually ripped twice like this and let it sink to the bottom. And so often they're going to try to hit it just before it gets back to the bottom. There we go. Just like always a lot of times they're just there. You don't feel a line tick. That's why you got to get that rhythm going. Jumping the bait up and off the bottom and letting it come down. That's classic wounded baitfish style wherever you're at in the country. There we are. You can hear the noise from the lure as it shakes. Oh, there it comes right out. Beautiful fish again. Hot new lure, hot new technique. Old technique, actually. It's just not very much being applied. It's used with spoons, but it's not that much used with these lipless crankbaits. Pretty. All right, so there's the Rippin Rap that I'm fishing. I've already showed you that one. You know, we've got one classic bait. This has been around for 15 years, caught a ton of fish on this. The original Rattling Rap. It has some noise to it, but it's a different kind of noise, and it has a definite different swimming action to it, but this also is very, very good on the rip up. The other bait in this class from Rapala is the Clackin' Rap, and it too has this clacking chamber, newly introduced 2-3 years ago. Beautiful bait, but it's a lot wider bait. And all of these baits, what I always tell people, what I always tell you guys out there, is that the important things in presentation are first depth control, next speed control, or how you're working the bait, which is very important for what we're doing right here. And then third for me is always vibration. So now with these three lipless baits, you have the same depth control, you can work them in the same way, but you have different vibrations and different sounds to these baits. And they're going to work in different situations at different times, sometimes. So I carry all three, experimenting with the new Rippin Rap today, and it's a dynamite new bait. Right there by the boat again. They're following that thing. I just know how they react. Smallmouths are so curious. They just follow it and finally can't stand it, and they come and give it a rap. There we are. A little bit bigger fish. Oh, nice one. There we are. Beautiful, big fish. There. The bait right down there, the fish. It's a lot of fun when you're really on them, you're really catching fish. You've got a hot new, not really new technique, but a great technique to tell people about. So we've got, there it is, the Rippin Rap, hot new lipless bait option. Certainly works for smallmouth. I'm sure it's going to work for largemouth. This is actually only my second time making a swim with this bait. So there you go. Speed control, how you're going to work these baits, and then get on some fish like this. Great day on the water.